My dear children, did you know the story you're about to hear is real? It's from the time of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and based on a true hadith. If you love stories that teach you kindness, courage, and faith, don't forget to like and subscribe so we can keep sharing more just for you. So now let's all sit back and watch a tale from our beloved prophet. The playground was as noisy as ever. Children dashed about in every direction, their laughter ringing across the schoolyard. Footballs bounced, skipping ropes slapped the ground, and shoes scraped against the concrete as they ran and played. Among them was a quiet girl called Sophie. Sophie wasn't the loudest or the fastest. In fact, most days she liked to stand by the fence and watch everything. But she always paid attention to the little things. The small birds hopping near the bins, the ants carrying crumbs back to their nest, the tiny daisies growing between the cracks in the pavement. Today, as Sophie walked along the path towards the lunch hall, she noticed something else. A sharp, jagged pebble sitting right in the middle of the walkway. It wasn't big, barely the size of her thumb, but it looked sharp enough to trip someone. Or worse. Children were rushing past, their trainers scuffing the ground, footballs bouncing dangerously close. No one else seemed to see the pebble. Sophie paused for a second. It wasn't her mess. It wasn't her responsibility. She could have walked right past it like everyone else. But her mom's words echoed in her mind, the words she always said when Sophie helped clear up at home or picked up litter at the park. Even the smallest good deed makes the world a little better, love. Sophie bent down and picked up the sharp pebble, tucking it safely into her pocket. It was a tiny thing, really, hardly worth mentioning. She carried on walking, joining the queue for lunch. She didn't think much of it after that, but just as she reached the doors to the lunch hall, there was a sudden shout from behind, "Harry, are you all right?" Sophie turned to see Harry from year 3 sitting on the ground, rubbing his knees. He'd been racing along the path, chasing after his football, but now he looked a bit shaken. "Tripped over my own feet," Harry mumbled as his friend helped him up. "Could have been worse." Sophie watched quietly, her hand still in her pocket, fingers brushing against the sharp-edged pebble. She realized if she hadn't picked it up, Harry might have tripped over it instead. And it wouldn't have been just a scraped knee. Someone could have really hurt themselves. It was such a small thing, picking up a pebble. But that tiny act had made a difference. Later that afternoon during class, their teacher, Miss Ahmed, gathered everyone for a quick chat about playground safety. "We should always look out for one another," she explained. "It's the little things that keep everyone safe. Telling a teacher if you see something dangerous, putting your litter in the bin, even moving something off the path." Sophie smiled to herself. She didn't say anything. She didn't need to. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, taught that removing harmful things from the path is an act of charity. Charity isn't always about money or big heroic actions. Sometimes it's as simple as picking up a stone. The next day, Sophie noticed more small things. A banana skin on the steps. She popped it in the bin. A loose football left near the doorway, she rolled it back to the pitch. No one made a fuss. No one clapped or cheered. But Sophie knew those little moments mattered. And then, something lovely happened. One afternoon, Sophie was walking home with her friend Amelia. As they reached the park gates, Amelia spotted a broken glass bottle lying by the footpath. "That's dangerous," Amelia said, frowning. "Someone could get hurt." Without a word, the two girls worked together. Sophie found a tissue, Amelia carefully picked up the glass, and they popped it in the park bin. Teamwork. Amelia grinned. Sophie smiled back. Even small things help. And from that day on, it wasn't just Sophie looking out for little dangers. Other children started noticing too. A football moved off the stairs, a bottle cap picked up from the grass. A fallen lunchbox returned to its owner. They weren't grand gestures. They weren't big, dramatic moments. But they made the school a little bit safer, a little bit kinder. Sophie never told anyone about the pebble, but she didn't need to. The lesson stayed with her. It's easy to walk past a problem and think it's not my responsibility. But the truth is, every small act of care matters. You never know when your kindness, your attention, your good deed might be the very thing that protects someone else. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, reminded us of that. Removing something harmful from the path, even something as small as a pebble, is a form of charity. And charity isn't always loud. It isn't always obvious, but it's powerful. It keeps people safe. It makes the world a little better. All Sophie did was pick up a pebble, but in her own quiet way, she changed everything. Moral of the story: even the smallest act of care can make a big difference. Never hesitate to help. It matters more than you think. Like and subscribe to keep learning and growing